The week always seems to pass by in a frantic rush, which makes the weekend something to treasure. A time to shift gears, to relax, and let time slip by at its own pace. Let me share a secret recipe. Discover an ingredient that fires your imagination. Choose other flavors to match. Find the best way to cook them. My secret recipe? Cooking without a recipe. Like your family, we look forward to our weekends. Gabe and Rachel are strolling on the beach. Hey, a nice way to start the day. So I'm taking it easy and getting brunch ready. There's nothing like the smell of freshly baked bread to get your day started. And this is my morning, noon, and night master recipe. It's foolproof and it's infinitely variable. Because when you're making bread, you do have to measure a little more carefully than in the rest of the kitchen, but that doesn't mean you can't play around a bit too. Now this calls for 4 cups of flour in total, and you can use whatever flour you care to, whole wheat, all-purpose. Actually, I think I will use all-purpose. It's an easy flour to use in the morning. But you know, one of those cups of flour can also become a cup of grain. And again, any grain will work. Cornmeal, grain mixes, or oatmeal. Now that's an easy morning flavor. Now you don't need any fancy equipment to make bread. All you need is a flat surface and a pile of tasty ingredients. 2 cups and 3 cups. Plus 1 cup of oatmeal. Then top it off with about 2 teaspoons of salt. Then with your hand, simply push that pile of flour into a well of sorts. Make a great big well right in the center of it, because that's where the water's going to go, the warm water. Now it's very important to use warm water, because yeast is alive, and if you use cold water, well, let's just say it goes to sleep and it won't poop up the bread. 1.5 cups. Then just dump the water right into the well. Next up, the yeast. I'll use a full heaping spoonful, a tablespoonful. Now, yeast really likes sugar for breakfast, but here's an opportunity to add some more flavor to the bread, because you don't have to add just plain old white sugar. I actually think honey will work nicely with oatmeal. 2 ounces or so, 1/4 cup. And then a splash of oil. I just happen to be using olive oil, but again, any oil will work just fine. In fact, melted butter would taste good too. This is a secret of bakers everywhere. Powdered milk. It'll add a nice rich flavor to the bread. A couple of spoonfuls will do it. Here's something I've been meaning to try. These will add some AM flavor. But obviously I can't add the juice, so instead, I'll add the zest, the flavor. Now see all those bubbles in there? That means the yeast is alive and kicking. It's having a good morning. Now I need to get kneading. Here's how you do it. Take your fingers and right where the liquid meets the flour, start to gently stir everything together. But do it very gently because of course you don't want to break that moat and have all this liquid go pouring all over your counter. Now once the flour and water start to combine into a thick slurry, you can really start to pick up the pace. It'll start to come together quickly at this point. Now as soon as you can start to pick the dough up, pick it up and start gathering in some of the flour that's scattered around your counter. Now when the dough first starts to come together, you can easily tear it into pieces. See that? That's because it hasn't developed any strength yet. The way to develop that strength is to knead it. Simply flatten it out, then fold it in half, flatten it again, and fold it in half the other way. And just keep on doing that, at least 100 times. Kneading develops the gluten. Gluten is something that's present in flour, and as soon as it gets combined with water, it starts to get really stretchy. It starts to get very strong. And that strength is important because that's what allows the yeast to poof up the bread without the bread breaking and collapsing onto itself. Now, when you feel like you've had enough kneading, just gather the dough into a nice smooth ball and get ready to rest it. In a lightly oiled bowl. Just toss it in, move it around, make sure it's well oiled. That way it won't form a crust on the outside as it rises. It'll help it rise even further. Now I'll cover that with a towel. The yeast in this dough is very much alive. In fact, right now, it's enjoying a nice, quiet honey breakfast. But let's just say when breakfast is over, things get a little gassy. And that's why it's so important for the dough to be strong, because an elastic dough will capture that gas and rise up, especially if it's in a nice, warm breakfast nook. But somehow, I suspect that dough's adventure is just beginning. Dave and Rachel are on a little morning stroll, and I'm on an AM mission creating a brunch to greet them when they get back. Hey, it's the weekend. Time to slow down and live a little. To rest comfortably, like my infinitely variable breakfast dough. Today it's scented with orange zest and packed with oatmeal. Well, it sure looks like that yeast had a nice breakfast. That dough is doubled, and now it's almost good to go. But you know, I don't think I'm going to make a loaf with it anymore. I've got a better idea. How about butterscotch breakfast buns? Nice and easy. I'll start by making a simple caramel. I'll add some butter to it, butterscotch, and then wait till you see how the bread gets added. Now I'll add some water around the outside of that sugar. Another cup or so, but the measurement really doesn't matter because the water's going to disappear anyway. Now when you're making caramel, whatever you do, don't stir it, because stirring actually encourages crystallization. You'll end up with a sandy mixture, and you don't want that. Instead, just let the water and sugar dissolve naturally, and everything will be just fine. Now watch for the sugar to start changing color. Then start swirling the pan because you want it to brown evenly. Swirl it gently, and you're looking for a light golden brown. Now you've got to be prepared to shut the heat down in that pan in a heartbeat, and just turning it off doesn't do it. And since I'm making butterscotch, here's the ideal candidate. Butterscorch, butterscotch. At this point, simply stir that butter right on in until it's nice and smooth. And in a few seconds, the sugar will start to cool down. It will cool to the same thickness as the melted butter, and the two will combine easily into a nice, smooth butterscotch. This is a great way to flavor any dough. Let's make some buns. Now I'll cut this into 12 even pieces. And now I need a baking pan, but not just any baking pan. How about a baking pan full of butterscotch? Now that yeast is not done yet. So I'm just going to let it sit there and rest comfortably, and it'll continue rising again. When it's done, it'll be ready to bake off in the oven. 375 degrees is the perfect temperature to bake those off. So while they get to know the butterscotch and the oven preheats, I think I'll get some more flavors ready for the buns. Here's a great one. This is called yogurt cheese. It's really tasty. It'll make a great bread spread, and it's super simple to make. Yogurt's tangy taste is one of Mother Nature's best and most flavorful dairy sources. But try concentrating all that goodness for a versatile flavor revelation. Simply pour a container of your favorite plain yogurt into several coffee filters and let it rest. After a few hours or even overnight, much of the natural moisture of the yogurt will drain away, leaving behind a rich, concentrated cheese-like cream. Try it, and you'll see yogurt in a whole new light. See how thick that is? It's going to make a great spread. And it's also a great way to add some more flavor to these buns because this is relatively neutral in flavor. And since they're flavored with orange, I think I'll flavor this with orange too. In fact, I think I'll fill this jar right up because hey, what's breakfast without some orange marmalade? Simple is always best, and some flavors just go together naturally. So there's one orange ready to go, and here's another one. Look at how those have risen. They've doubled in size and they've filled the pan in nicely. They're definitely ready to head for the oven. What a great way to get the weekend started. Now, where did I leave that watermelon? It's the weekend, and Rachel and Gabe are off for a morning stroll. I'll have brunch ready when they get back. I'm relaxing in the kitchen. On the menu, today's version of my Never Made the Same Way Twice bread dough. Orange scented butterscotch breakfast buns. Of course, these taste best when you turn the flavor upside down. And Rachel and Gabe thought I was just going to bake a loaf of bread. A grapefruit salad really only needs one thing: great fruit, and lots of it. Like watermelon. Not only does this taste great, but it looks great, and it comes with its own bowl. Actually, not only is it fun to carve a watermelon, but it's pretty simple too. Here's something that'll help you carve a watermelon the very first time you try. Some toothpicks. Basically, this is called connect the dots. Put one right there. And the smaller your knife, the better, because a small blade can really curve sharply. Now for some melon balling. Now, a good fruit salad is full of a lot more than just watermelon, and since I'm scooping out the entire insides of this, I think what I'll do is turn the rest of it into a drink and carry on with the fruit salad. Now that's looking good, but hey, it's the weekend. I'm in no rush. I'm not done yet. I could scallop this thing all the way around, add a few more flourishes and doohickeys, but you know what? I think it's time to fill it up with some fruit. An apple, any apple, a crisp red delicious. A fuzzy kiwi. Some bright red strawberries. A nice bright orange. Just look at all these colors. Fruit can be a great way to brighten up your family's day too. Fruits are Mother Nature's convenience food, which is why they make perfect little snacks. They're full of all kinds of vital nutrition and lots of natural energy. Hey, they help you perform at your best. Good thing I've got a tab here. Fruits are powerful. They're loaded with phytochemicals. That's right, phytochemicals. They easily take on diabetes, some cancers, and even heart disease. Hey, you know what they say? A red delicious a day keeps the doctor away. Where else in the supermarket can you find so much tasty goodness? Because perhaps most importantly, fruits are full of flavor. Apple, kiwi, orange, strawberry, blackberry, blueberry, red grape, green grape, mango, all tossed into a watermelon. Of course, the only thing missing here is an egg, or two, because it is brunch after all. You know, I've made a few omelets in my time, and I've learned a thing or two, but perhaps the most important lesson of all is this: keep it simple, because you can mix any flavors under the sun into an omelet, but you can't do it all at the same time. So pick one or two flavors that you really like, and you've got the makings of a wonderful omelet. Perhaps a fresh herb, like thyme. I prefer aged cheddar cheese for no other reason than it has more flavor. My first day on the job as an apprentice cook, the chef said to me, "Monsieur, une omelette s'il vous plaît." So I made him what I thought was a pretty tasty omelet. But let's just say that we didn't see eye to eye on my technique, because he was expecting something white and fluffy, very classical, but I gave him something brown and flavorful. Well, after I finished cleaning the omelet off the wall, I said to the chef, "Merci beaucoup," but I said to myself, you know, as long as you get all these flavors in and out of the pan in one piece, and you like the way it tastes, then you get an A+ in Omelet Making 101. And when you reach the point that you really don't have any more liquid egg in the pan, just let it hang out for a second, because the heat that's in the pan will penetrate through the egg and cook the top of the egg as well. Now that's what I call flavor. Weekends are made for relaxing in life and the kitchen. And when you remember that weekends are the perfect time to cook up some fun, you can have your butterscotch breakfast buns and eat them too. Perhaps with a nice orange yogurt bread spread. Actually, the only thing missing here is some mint with the fruit salad. Now I could just toss these leaves right on, but you know, to really disperse their flavor throughout the salad, the best thing to do is slice them a bit. And ah yes, the pièce de résistance. Now we're talking. Edible art. Now I packed a lot of flavor into that watermelon, 10 different fruits. But I also took a lot of flavor out of that watermelon, and here it is. It's time for some watermelon fizz. I'll just strain all those little watermelon seeds out. There's the fruit, now for the fizz. This is one of my favorite weekend drinks right here. Very nice. Now let's see if I get to add another notch to my old faithful bread dough recipe. It always works, but it doesn't always look that good. Wow, that orange zest really wakes these up. And that butterscotch, need I say more? You know, a table full of flavors can be a great greeting in your home too. Just keep it simple, stir in some fun, and remember, it doesn't have to be complicated to be genuine.
Why did the watermelon not fall off?
Oh, Daddy was having some fun playing around in the kitchen again. Now here's a little something I call butterscotch breakfast bun.
Yum. They're really good.
Well, this is the way to start the weekend, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What should we do the rest of the weekend?
Relax.
Ah, yes. See if you can rhyme off all the fruit that's in there.
Wow, there's a ton.
There's 10 different fruits in there.
And I love the watermelon basket.
And it's easy, too.